Hey y'all, what's going on? This is Jesse Boast from the 19th hole, and I'm here to do a pro expert guide for you all here. This is for the Vintage Open Tournament. I wasn't really planning to do one, but I've had several people request that I do one, so we're going to go ahead and just, hopefully put this guide together for you all. Hopefully it can help a few of you all. I will be doing playthroughs starting on Monday for the rookie, hopefully the pro and the expert as well. But I figured we'd give you all something here to look at and kind of help prepare you for the upcoming tournament. So what we're going to do here is talk about holes 1 through 9. We're going to talk about the different ways to play the hole, what clubs you may want to consider bringing with you, ball type to use, and then also any kind of elevation changes that you may see along the way. So we're going to go ahead and start with hole number 1 here. And it is this is Vineyard Acres, and they did redo some of these holes, and hole number 1 is definitely one of the holes that they have redone. They've made it a little bit longer. They've changed the elevation on it that I can see so far. So hole 1, and it's a par 4. As far as the way I would play it if I were you, if you get some sort of like a headwind or even a side wind, you probably want to play this one a little bit shorter, more of the conservative way, which would be from this little area right here. And from there, you're going to use full topspin and full right spin to jump it over the rough and hopefully roll it up through the fairway to somewhere in this zone right here. And then from there, you will have either a wedge or a short iron to the hole. Now, on the tee shot, I would definitely play a plus 10% adjustment. And for your second shot, it gets a little bit tricky. It really depends on how far up that fairway you can get. If you get your ball up the fairway close enough to the green, I would just play straight up. But if you do find that yourself is kind of laid back in the fairway, and if it looks uphill, then in that case, you're going to actually want to play a minus 10% adjustment to your shot. So you'll actually be taking away some of your wind because it is an uphill shot, and there won't be as much. There just won't be as much change to your shot when you're shooting the ball uphill. So that's why you take away from your wind guide. You do not need to adjust as much shooting uphill. I would play probably more of a topspin shot for your second shot, and I would try to run that ball out from the front edge of the green instead of trying to land that ball closer to the hole. I would definitely land that shot closer to the front edge of the green. So that's how you would play the shot with a side wind or a headwind, or even in some circumstances, some of y'all might play that with a tailwind. But in my opinion, if you have a good tailwind, then you may want to play the shot a little bit differently. You may want to try to play your shot with like a power 4 ball, in which case then you will be trying to take your shot over the rough. In that case, you will be going with a shot somewhere more in this zone right here. You'll land it there, and then with top spin and right spin, you will hopefully roll your shot up to the green this way, which will hopefully leave you a wedge shot. Now, the way you want to play that shot is you want to play it probably with a power 3 or a power 4 ball, and that may depend on what kind of a driver you have. If you have a higher level driver, then you may be able to get away with a power 3 ball. But you may want to go with just a power 4 ball anyway, just to make sure that you can make the shot, and then you have a little bit more room for error. You do want to use at least 4 bars of topspin for that shot. I would definitely make sure that you use that at a minimum. You're going to use full right spin as well on that shot. And you're most likely going to have to use a little bit of overpower on that shot, probably at least a 50% overpower on that shot. Now, the amount of curl that you want to use with your with that shot will depend greatly on the kind of wind that you have. If you have a right to left wind, then you may want to use more curl. If you have a left to right wind, then you may not need to use as much curl. You may just want to let the ball kind of naturally be pushed by the wind in that case. So depending on what kind of wind you have, you may want to that may determine how much curl you want to use. If you get your shot up somewhere in that yellow circle area, you will not have to play any kind of extra adjustment for your second shot. You're just going to play that one straight up to the hole. And I would definitely recommend going with a little bit of topspin and extending that ball guide out and rolling it along that green. It's a fairly smooth green for the most part. So, that's the way I would play this hole. I'm hoping that we get a nice tailwind so that I can play an extended shot over the rough and go for a shot up near the green. Some people you will see playing some sort of a power curl shot. I'm not really sure on the specifics of that yet. We will try to get into that more as the week unfolds and we see what kind of a wind we have. But there's definitely a possibility for some sort of a power curl shot on this hole as well. So just to wait and see what happens when we find out what kind of a wind we have. All right, so let's move on to our next shot here. Our next hole here. And we've got a par 3, hole number 2, par 3. So let's go back to our red color here. And hole 2, par 3. We'll play a plus 10%. What's that? We'll play a plus 10% adjustment for elevation on this shot. I don't know why I put a number sign there. Hashtag 10. No, we'll play a plus 10% change for our elevation here for this shot. I would go at this one with either a sniper or the guardian. You're going to be landing your shot somewhere up in this zone right here. And you're going to be playing this one with about 4 bars of backspin. And, a good reference point for this one is going to be your blue ring, kind of right there on the edge of the rough. You will be looking for your ball to drop just right on the edge of that fringe. And there's kind of like a hill right there on the edge of that fringe green and fairway area. So you do want your ball to drop just over the edge of that fringe going down towards the hole. And hopefully you can get yourself a nice rollout for the ace right there. Now, if you have a fairly strong tailwind here, you may have to go to a lower power ball, something like a Navigator. If you have a headwind or a sidewind, then you can go with a Kingmaker ball for this shot right here. Okay. Otherwise, if you get a tailwind, you may find yourself in between clubs with the sniper, in which case you would end up using probably the Goliath. But I would recommend going ahead and just changing your ball out so that you can stick with the sniper. And you can use the guardian on this hole if you want, but I would definitely recommend the sniper for this hole. All right, let's move on to our next hole here. We got hole number 3. And this is a par 5. This is definitely a par 5 that gives us this chance to get the albatross for sure. As far as the club that you want to use for this hole, Extra Mile, Thor Hammer, APOC, any of those clubs will do. Basically, what you're trying to do is you're trying to hit your shot somewhere in this zone right here with full top spin and some right spin. You're going to bounce it over the water and try to roll it out to this area of the fairway. That's the way that you want to play this shot. That is the way that you'll see most people play that shot on this hole. As far as your second shot, you'll have the option of going for some sort of a rough bump, in which case then you'll be going with the Goliath or a Hornet. If you get your drive far enough up the fairway, you may want to have the Hornet in your bag just in case. Or depending on what kind of a wind we have for our second shot, you could possibly go with a backspin shot with the Saturn. Now, keep in mind, if you want to use the Saturn on this hole, you will need to make sure that it's at least a level 7 plus to have the proper amount of backspin to make that shot. And to make that shot, you'll aim your shot along the right edge of the upper part of the green with that backspin, and hopefully you'll get a nice little kick to the left, and find that channel back to the hole for the possible albatross. If you are playing the rough bump, you are going to play with your Goliath with about 2 bars of topspin. You do want to play your shot adjusted with the ball guide through the hole. If you don't play your ball guide through the hole, it is possible to hit and then roll up short to the hole and then roll back down into the rough, which is not something that you want to do. So do make sure that you play with that ball guide extended through the hole and give yourself the best chance to hit that albatross. And that is the one way you'll see a lot of people play this hole. Another way you can play this hole possibly would be with a power hook shot here. You'd be trying to aim your shot somewhere here for the middle of the fairway. I like to play this one with the Thor because it's an easy 15 ring adjustment on top of your wind. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to aim the wind for the wind first. You'll adjust for the wind, and then you will adjust 15 rings to the left. And so your shot will come out around the corner like this, and then come back down, hit there with top spin and right spin. It'll kick back this way and roll up here in the fairway. And you'll see some people playing that shot as well. You can achieve, basically a good spot for your end, your end location of your tee shot, playing it either way. Just some people choose one method over the other. So definitely, something to think about there. As far as the curl goes off of your tee shot, you do want to make sure that you may, add extra curl depending on what kind of a wind you have. If you have a left to right wind, you probably don't need as much curl. You just let the wind naturally move that ball from left to right. But if you do have a right to left wind, you may need to use a little bit more right curl to counteract that wind to keep that ball pushed away, from pushing over to this rough to the left side of the fairway. So definitely something to keep in mind while playing this hole. Let me check my notes here and make sure I didn't have anything else that I wanted to add here. As far as the tee shot goes, the amount of topspin you use will change probably depending on what kind of a wind you have and what kind of a shot you play. If you have a straight tailwind at your back, you may want to be careful on using too much topspin. Probably about 4 or 5 bars of topspin will be good. But if you have a club with more topspin than that, you may want to be kind of careful as far as using too much topspin, because you do want to make sure that you stay out of the the rough over here on this left side, because it could come into play, with like a great left or something like that. So yeah, keep that in mind. If you have a headwind, though, you may be required to use that full topspin just to get that ball over the water to that second fairway. But I really doubt they're going to give us a headwind. I would guess either going to be some sort of a side tailwind or a side wind for this shot. So, all right, that's hole number 3. We'll move on to our next hole, which is going to be hole number 4. And as you see, this is a par 3 here. So hole number 4 is a par 3. Club selection here will be some sort of like a sniper or a guardian, whichever one you choose. We'll play this one at a plus 10% adjustment off the tee box for this shot. And as far as your ball goes, you're going to go with some sort of a wind resistant ball. Probably in most cases, most people will use a Kingmaker, but then some people will use one of those higher level wind resistant balls as well. So the way you're going to play this hole is most likely you're going to play your shot off the fairway section here, or even the front part of the screen. I would definitely stay away from playing your shot off the fringe section. I don't really like playing my shot off the fringe. To me, it just leaves the door open for that inconsistent bounce. So either play it in front of the fringe on the fairway or past the fringe on the green with a lot more backspin. You're going to want to use at least 4 to 5 bars of backspin on this shot, and you're going to pretty much just go straight at the hole here for this shot. I would definitely say that, you do want to keep in mind if you have some sort of a side wind here, you may want to play some sort of an offset, like 1 or 2 squares to the left. on the top of your adjustment for the wind as well. So just keep that in mind while you're playing this shot. If you do have some sort of a headwind, or I mean a tailwind for that matter, no. If you have some sort of a headwind, you may be forced to use some sort of a long iron. So make sure that you pack a long iron that does have some backspin to it, just in case you do have that headwind, and you are forced to move into, change clubs into that long iron. In which case, you may want to think about changing your ball power as well to, put yourself back in position for that wood shot. So that's definitely all that I really have for this hole. It's a very simple, straightforward par 3, and hopefully you all can get the ace, but this will most likely be more of a hole that you see people getting the birdie on, if I had to guess. All right, hole number 5 is next. So we got hole number 5, and hole number 5 is a par 5. Off the tee box, we will play a plus 10% adjustment for the elevation. And this is definitely a hole where I would suggest for your second club, you do want to bring either a maxed out Guardian or otherwise Big Dog or Cataclysm. As far as your driver goes, Extra Mile, Apocalypse, Thor, any of those clubs will work. I strongly recommend a Power 4 ball for this hole, mostly for the second shot, but it will help for the first shot as well. So if you have some sort of a tailwind, you're going to be trying to play your shot to land it up here in this zone right here. If you have some sort of a side wind or a headwind, then you may be trying to look back a little bit farther in the fairway. The end result, no matter where you are landing your tee shot, should be up in this front left area of the fairway. So whichever way you get there, I don't care how you get there as long as you get there. The way you're going to play this shot, as far as spins go, could change as well. So if you're playing it from this more rightward position, like if you have a tailwind, in that case, you're going to be playing with about 3 bars of top spin, full left spin, and possibly a little bit of curl on the shot. Now, if you're having to play from this back left spot, like if you have a side wind or a headwind, in which case then you're going to want to use more top spin, and you're not going to want to use as much left spin. You still want to use a little bit of left spin, but not too much left spin, because as you can see, we do have these trees to deal with now on this course. So, the difference is from the last time we played this hole, those trees weren't there, and we could get away with playing the left side a little bit more aggressive. This time, if we play too aggressive and we do hit like a great left, we have a chance to bounce into those trees and really screw ourselves up for our second shot. So definitely keep that in mind when you're playing this hole. For your second shot here, if you mess up your drive, you may want to play your second shot short to this zone right here, in which case from there, you will have a wedge shot to the green, which is not too bad of a shot. The green's not too bad of a green as far as the slope goes. It's a pretty decent shot right there from there. And that is if you mess up your drive. Now, hopefully you hit your drive well to the front left area of that first fairway. And you have 2 options from there. This is why I say the Power 4 ball comes in handy. If you have a driver with good distance, like the Big Dog or the Cataclysm, you can either go for the rough bump shot or the shot where you just bounce it straight over the bunker, straight to the green, with somewhere between 0 to 2 bars of backspin. Depends on how aggressive you want to get towards that hole for the Albatross. If you have a really good drive to the front left, you can go with a little bit of backspin. If not, you may want to, tone it back to about 0 to 1 bar of backspin. Now, if you want to go for the rough bump shot, you will be aiming for the similar spot up here on this fairway, but you will be looking to land your second bounce in the rough. And then from there, you're going to use some top spin and some right spin to roll that shot out of the rough onto the green. And I would say that is probably going to be about 3 to 4 bars of top spin paired with some right spin as well to kind of roll that shot out of the rough and onto the green. I personally like the shot where you kind of skip over the rough and the bunker straight to the green, but that is very dependent on having a good drive to that front left corner of that first right fairway. So that's basically your options. And, the less power ball you use, the harder that gets, and it may force you to have to overpower your second shot, which is something I would strongly recommend to try to avoid having to do. Because when you start having to overpower shots, that's when you start missing great or great left or great right, and that's when you may end up in this bunker right here, which is something you do not want to do. Okay? All right, so that is hole number 5. All right, next we got hole number 6 here, and this is a par 4. This is a hole that we've seen plenty of times. I would definitely recommend going with your extra mile, your Thor, your APOC for the tee shot. It really doesn't matter. I like something with accuracy and a good ball guide for the tee shot. That way I can concentrate and try to get my shot up to this zone of the fairway as accurately as possible. You want to do that with top spin and right spin. Probably about 3 to 4 bars of top spin and about 3 bars of right spin to make that shot happen. But definitely be careful. If you have a tailwind, I would definitely recommend going only 3 top spin. If you have a side wind, then you can get away with probably 3.5 to 4 bars of top spin. With a headwind, you may be able to use a little bit more, but I really doubt we're going to get a headwind for that shot. So from that spot right there, we are going to go towards the towards this section of the fairway here across the water. And for the second shot, it's going to be playing as if it's uphill. So minus 10% for the elevation change. So you will subtract 10% from your wind values before you make your adjustment for that shot. I like to play that shot with the sniper. Some people will play it with the Guardian. I personally prefer the sniper, though, for this shot. And also on the tee shot, play a plus 5% adjustment for the elevation on the tee shot. So back to the second shot. I like the sniper for that second shot. It's perfectly fine to play with the Guardian. I just enjoy the sniper because of its accuracy and its ball guide. Now, for this shot right here, you want to play it with about 3 to 4 bars of backspin, and then at least probably 4 bars of left spin. Some people will play more. Some people may play a little bit less, but I like somewhere between about 4 bars of left side spin and at least 3 to 4 bars of backspin. Now, the trick to this shot is to see what kind of a wind you get for this shot. Let's just say we have a wind that's pointing like this. When you have a wind that's pointing from right to left, you don't want to just aim the ball guide straight at the hole, especially in these higher divisions. You want to offset that shot a little bit to the right side of the hole. I would start out with about 1 square to the right, and then based on your shot and how accurately you hit it, then you may decide that you want to add a little bit extra of an offset, more than that, just that 1 extra square. So definitely think about that as well. And if you have a tailwind for your shot, then you may want to offset your shot, in front of the hole to kind of compensate for that extra push you're going to get from the tailwind. Same with the headwind. These are just extra things that you want to think of. And this is on top of your wind adjustment for the shot. Remember, minus 10%. So we're actually subtracting wind. Let's just say you have a 10 mile per hour wind, minus 10%. That means you'll play the shot as if it's a 9 mile per hour wind after you subtract that 1 mile per hour. So, all right, let me look at my notes, make sure there's nothing else I wanted to say about this hole. And we will move on. For this hole right here, you can play this one with, pretty much any ball you want. Quasar, Katana, Kingmaker. I'll probably play it with the Kingmaker, but you can play it with pretty much any ball and it'll be okay. But just remember, the higher wind resistance ball you use, the less your wind is going to be when you do actually make these shots. So it may be a good idea to at least play it with the Kingmaker ball. All right, next hole we have is hole number 7. I think this is 7. Yep, hole number 7. Par 5. This is a par 5 where we really not going to have any chance for the albatross. But that's okay. You don't need to get an albatross on every par 5. As far as your driver goes, I recommend the quarterback or the Thor, or not the Thor, the quarterback or the rock. You do want to get your tee shot up into this front left area of the fairway, and using a rock or a quarterback will allow you to do that accurately and precisely, which those are the two things that you want to make sure you do. You want to have accuracy and precision, because you do want to make sure you don't go into this rough right here, because that will really mess up yourself for your second shot. Now, as far as your ball goes, I would definitely recommend going with at least a power 3 ball. It may be a good idea to go with a power 4 ball as well, but I think a power 3 ball will be fine. And as you can see, the power is not for the first shot. The power is going to be for your second shot. So for your second shot, you definitely want a big dog or a cataclysm. What you're going to do is, the reason why you want to get so far up to the edge of this fairway is for the second shot. You want to take it here. You're going to land it up in this zone right here with top spin and left spin. And you want to roll it as far up this fairway as possible. Now, the reason you want to roll it as far up that fairway as possible is because you want to get it past this line of trees right here. Okay, so let's say you only get your shot to right about here. You see, you can't shoot through these trees to the hole. You're going to be left with a weird shot. We're going to have to use some sort of curl, maybe a little bit of a slice to get your shot to the hole. So you do want to make sure that you get your second shot past that line of trees, so that you do have a clear shot to the hole, and give yourself a good chance at getting the eagle here for this hole. Depending on how far you get up that fairway, you're going to have either a thorn or hornet shot. And this is maybe a really good place to use that hornet with that really nice accuracy. Now, you are going to want to be taking your shot off the fairway before the green on this shot. So you're going to use a minimal amount of backspin on this shot. So for that reason, you may want to go whichever one of those short irons that you have that have the best ball guide. If you go with the thorn, you may want to just play that shot naturally and leave the end of that ball guide about 1 to 2 squares in front, of the hole, and let's let that ball roll in nicely for the eagle. So hopefully you all can get that shot figured out and play it that way and get the eagle. And do remember, off the tee pad, play a plus 10% for your adjustment. As far as the second shot goes, there's no need to worry about playing any kind of adjustment, because you're playing that shot with the big dog cataclysm, and there won't be enough of effect to matter. But yeah, definitely on that tee shot, plus 10%. All right, next hole we got is hole number 8. And we got a par 3 here. We're going to play a plus 10% off the tee pad for this one. And as far as your ball choice goes, I'm going to definitely say going with the Kingmaker, or if you're going to use a wind resistance ball, this would be definitely a good hole to use a wind resistance ball. I like going with the Sniper. You could also use the Guardian as well on this hole, but I prefer the Sniper. You're going to play this shot pretty much straight at the hole. And, this is a pretty, there's really not a whole lot to say about this hole, because you're really just going to play it straight at the hole. You want to make sure you play that plus 10%. You also want to make sure that you play the, you want to play a little bit extra adjustment for that wind, especially if you have like a side wind. So you're going to have to offset this shot a little bit to the left. If you have a left to right, if you have a right to left wind, you want to offset this one to the right. If you have a left to right wind, you want to offset this one a little bit to the left on top of your wind adjustment. If you have a tailwind, you want to offset the shot before the hole to make sure that you adjust for that extended ball guide. If you have a headwind, then you want to make sure that you have that ball guide past the hole for that compressed ball guide. So yes, you're playing these extra adjustments on top of your wind adjustment. So keep that in mind. As far as the shot goes, you're going to play this shot with about 4 to 6 bars of backspin, somewhere in there. Definitely will be a hole that we want to try to zoom in on, not zoom in on, but dial in, I guess would be the better words to say. We want to try to dial this one in and hopefully give ourselves a good chance to get in the ace. But this is most likely going to be a hole where most people get their birdie and then just move on. And last but not least, we got hole number 9, and we end this one on a par 4. Now, this is a hole that I would say for your second shot, you definitely want to have your Guardian for the backspin. As far as your driver goes, APOC, your Thor, your extra mile, any of those will work. And as far as the ball goes, I would definitely say that you want to go with like a Kingmaker ball would definitely be a good choice for this one. You want to play your shot up the right side of the fairway. And you want to get it with top spin and right spin. You want to land it here and roll it up this way. The farther to the right you can get up this fairway, the better you're going to be set up for your second shot. And the better chance you're going to give yourself to possibly hit that eagle on the second shot. You do want to play a plus 10% off the tee box on this drive. Do keep in mind that this fairway does slope downhill like this. So when your ball does hit on the fairway, your ball is going to be naturally be pushed to the left, which is why you want to use that right spin and that right curl to kind of counteract that shot and push your ball as much as you can up and to the right up this fairway to this zone right here. If you just naturally play the shot with no right spin or right curl, then you're going to end up down here on the fairway instead. And it's going to be a very difficult shot to the hole, to the green in 2 shots. So definitely, I would try to avoid having that happen to you. So for your second shot, you're going to play hopefully with your Guardian up to the green here. You bounce on this green here. You hit the slope. And then off that slope, you'll use the backspin for your Guardian to hopefully give yourself a chance to roll back into the hole for the eagle. If you don't have a Guardian and you're going to play with your sniper, you're going to play it pretty much the same way. You're just not going to have as good of a chance to roll it back in, although you still have a chance to roll it back in if you have a higher level sniper. Now, if you don't hit your drive far enough up the fairway, you may not be able to make the shot where you carry your ball to the green. In that case, you either have to play your shot off this fairway section here up to the hole, or you have to play a shot from here with top spin and left spin up along that ridge and then down to the hole. So those are your options if you don't carry your drive far enough up and to the right on this shot. All right, y'all. So for the second shot, you do want to play a plus 5% adjustment. Okay, so just make sure you play a plus 5% adjustment for that second shot. And plus 10% for the first shot. All righty. That is going to do it for our pro and expert guide. And definitely check us out on the 19th hole on Facebook if you haven't done so already. You just go to the search bar and type in Golf Clash 19th hole. That's the community page. Definitely make sure to hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Hit the subscription button and check off that notification bell to get notified when I do release new videos and also when I go live on YouTube during the tournament. So thank you all very much for hanging out with me. This has been Jesse Both of the 19th hole. God bless. Y'all have a good one.